Hey, good evening, folks. It's 6 p.m. on a Wednesday, and you know if it's 6 p.m. on a Wednesday, it's time for the Off the Record podcast, the Real Talk podcast with Allie Braswell. I'm your host, Allie, and it's so good to be here with you as we round out the 5th episode of the relationship series, talking about ownership. Just to refresh, the SHIPS framework comes directly from my book, and you can go out and subscribe or join me on Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you listen to your podcast and be a part of this. Just to recap, like I said, the SHIPS framework comes from the Engage, Invest, Grow book that I wrote in late 2023 on mastering relationships and leveraging the blueprint towards building mutually rewarding, refreshing, energetic, and thriving relationships. This came about because many people always ask me about how I was able to achieve the things and rise to the heights in my career that I've enjoyed. You know, how does a kid go from being walking down dirt roads in Oviedo, Florida, to being equivalent to a 3-star general in the United States Army through the protocols that were given to the role of civilian aide of the Secretary of the Army? I will tell you, every single step of the way, there has been someone who invested time, talent, and a portion of their relationship treasure into my life to give me an opportunity, whether it was Bob Billingsley at Disney or whether it was Wallace Shadoukati, who said, hey, you need to explore being in this role. The gentleman who held the civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army role for over 32 years. Now, that's some dedication. But for those type of individual, Bob, who worked for Disney for over 40 years, wrote the first ever diversity and inclusion statement. Wallace, who was a seasoned entrepreneur and just a pillar of industry and held a role where he advised secretary upon secretary over a 32-year period, to see something in me and say that I want to invest because of the character that came first and the reputation that followed, and then the actual showing up and putting the practical application to bear of wanting to build a relationship, be mentored by these gentlemen as they helped me navigate through my career into roles that I never would have imagined as a small kid walking down the roads in Oviedo, Florida. I come to you to share that one of the most important aspects of that was the ownership piece. See, they committed time, talent, and treasure into helping to cultivate a young guy that they thought had some aptitude and some ability to go out and do some great things. So, you know, when I look at that, that's why I do the Off the Record, the Real Talk podcast. It's unscripted, it's unfiltered, and it's unapologetic because I'm really sharing with those future leaders, the Gen Zers to those in the C-suite that want those extra nuggets to know how to navigate and move their careers along while at the same time building people first cultures that really and truly embrace lifting your fellow human being to the next level. You know, as we bring this series in on the SHIPS framework to a close, one of the most important principles that you just heard me mention is that of ownership. As Andrew Carnegie once said, teamwork is the ability to work together toward a common vision, the ability to direct individual accomplishments towards organizational objectives. And it's the fuel that allows common people to attain uncommon results. Folks, I just shared a bit of my resume, a little bit of my history with you, because it is truly through teamwork that I've been able to excel in the Marine Corps, or whether it was to enter the corporate world and then be able to give back. Did I face hurdles? You daggone Skippy, I did. Did I face obstacles that I thought were insurmountable? I sure did. But what was there were these coaches, these mentors, these big brothers, these uncles, as they're called, who helped me, and aunties. Let me make sure that it wasn't just men that helped me navigate and have opportunities. You know, I think about Disney and my experience there when Carmen Smith, who was the vice president over global strategies for diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout parks and resorts, saw a young talent over in the engineering side and said that they would give them a chance to lead the first ever corporate social responsibility. It was because of a relationship that she had with others, and because I had the character and the reputation that I was worthy of making the investment of their time, their talent, and their treasure. Going on into that role, Carmen would actually become one of the greatest proponents when I left the organization to go and lead the Central Florida Urban League, of bringing me back to help engage and help have conversations to help people embrace the challenge of coming together or from diverse backgrounds and forging alliances and allegiances that allow them to be better. Because high performance teams are better when there are relationships established, when you begin to know things about people. One of the things that I really think is important is it's a sense of belonging, having a stake in the body of work from beginning to end. That's what ownership is for me. So when you're talking about a relationship, it's not just a catalyst that you met at a networking event or someone introduced you or someone shared a bit of your history with someone else and they sought you out to engage you. It's really about showing up and being a part of what we're doing. I believe ownership in the framework is really where the rubber meets the road. This is where it's not just about an involvement or being on the team or having a casual coffee here and there. It's about an investment. It's about showing up with your time, your talent, and your treasure, as Jacob Stewart would talk and say time and time again, and being fully accountable for the outcomes that you, as a team member, as an organization, as a person in a business relationship or a mentor mentee relationship want to achieve. What are the outcomes that you say that you learn through the scholarship phase of learning about each other that led to say, yeah, let's partner, whether it be through mentorship, it be through business opportunity, or it be a part of becoming a member of the team? What were those things that we learned that said this person is worthy of my time, talent, and treasure? Because once you make that key, I think those are the things that help propel relationships forward, that lead to incredible accomplishments and sometimes unimaginable outcomes that weren't even there at the beginning, but because of the closeness of the relationship, they developed and you were able to do some great things. I want to give you 6 key themes and that I believe are a part of the ownership to help you really understand what I believe ownership is all about, and where I think if you were to go out and purchase a copy of the book, that you would see in Engage, Invest, Grow, the possibilities of what you can accomplish if you build mutually rewarding relationships. The first key that I want to give you is ownership defined. I want to really talk about it. I really want to talk about where we can go, what it really means about ownership. I believe that ownership is stepping beyond the surface level engagement. So it's beyond the casual coffee. It's beyond, you have gone through the phases of the framework and you said, I really want to see this person achieve some things, or I really want to be in business with this organization and help them grow to the next level. Or lastly, maybe it's a results-oriented community engagement opportunity to where we're going to make an investment in a community-based organization, but I want to see it flourish and thrive and see the results or the return on investment of what we're investing. What I'm really talking about is it's not just simply saying I was there, but it's declaring that I was responsible and here's what I delivered. A lot of times you'll hear me talk about community engagement where it's surface, and that a company may write a check for a dinner but never even attend. And some people clamor to get that. What I'd like to see happen is people write a check and then they show up to see and check on their investment. When they do, it opens their eyes. Most recently with the Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated's Gamma Delta Sigma chapter, which I'm a member, the Getting in Good Trouble Awards has grown to raise over $300,000 in charitable gifts and donations that support scholarships for our youth in Central Florida. But what has been most important is the relationships that have been built with the organizations that are writing the checks, that are filling the tables and not just sending people who represent the demographic of that organization, but actually putting their senior leaders in the room to help make decisions around celebrating people from different backgrounds that are getting in good trouble around youth, education, social action, or business, but they're actually showing up and seeing the results of their donations go to kids that may be the first generation of college attendee in their family. What I'm really talking about there in that type of ownership is it's the realization of dreams. It's helping people look and see. And when I wrote in my first book, Rekindling the Passion, I believe dreams are desires that are realized, evidenced, and manifested. But can you imagine when you're a corporate entity that you're making an investment that would then allow a young person or an organization to achieve their goals, their vision, their dreams? Ownership for me is the fuel that propels it all forward. It's the nurturing and managing it over time. It's not just, writing a cursory check and then dismissing or being distant. It's bringing senior leaders to the table so that they can understand that this wasn't just an investment of funds. This is an investment of our integrity of who we are as an organization, our belief in this organization to be able to serve the needs of others, or this person joining the team to be able to take us to another level. The next nugget I want to share with you is what I call the cost of avoiding ownership. Many people love to do let me put this out there, but let me not invest any of my relationship capital in it. As I highlighted in the book, when you deflect the responsibility, it kind of signals unreliability, and it damages trust within teams and organizations and within business relationships. A lack of ownership often fosters mediocrity. For example, if you just wrote a check to support an organization, but you didn't fill the table, you didn't even come, you didn't try, or you didn't make out an arrangement to either gift a table to someone else, I would say, are you really engaged with that organization? Or is it just more of a check the box and a lackluster engagement, which kind of fosters mediocrity in the relationship, and then puts it into, did I really even get the return on result, or was it just another check the box? The key thing is when you're in a personal relationship, let's just say it's mentoring. Is the mentee as engaged as the mentor? Is the mentor calling the mentee? And how long is the relationship? Is it only for a period of time? Say you're tutoring a student or mentoring a student through high school. Are you staying engaged through college into that first job? I can tell you from my own experience, excuse me, that I often refer to him, so I'll refer once again. Bob Billingsley not only invested time, talent, and treasure into me while I was a member of the Disney organization, he stayed with me through my tenure at the Urban League and then well into my other endeavors after I left the Urban League. Bob was that type of individual that saw his part of the ownership equation as my mentor, as someone I looked up to, was to maintain a relationship and constantly pour in, constantly course correct, constantly provide those wisdom nuggets that help people to be able to get to the next level, to bring what took place in those conversations that I wasn't a part of off the record to the forefront for me to be knowledgeable of how it's being perceived, what I could do to improve, and then even investing some of his relationship capital, like opening the doors and inviting me to an organization that he belonged to share the vision, and so they could also get a glimpse at the new leader of that organization. That really is investing time. Or maybe it's Jacob Stewart, who took time, even as the head of the chamber during the challenge of moving from the Orlando Chamber of Commerce to the Central Florida Partnership, that he took time to come and spend time with me and my leader, the head of the National Urban League, during a meet and greet that we held, that he then said, Allie, next time you do this, let me know, and we'll make sure that this is a revenue generator beyond your imagination, because we can do better with this. Some people might have said, well, that was harsh. No, that was truthful, transparent, and I took it to bear because as I created other things, I reached out for that guidance early on, and through that ownership of that relationship, that constantly nurturing, that constantly making deposits into these two men, I received all types of withdrawals or returns on my investment of time, of learning, of engaging and growing. That's what this chapter is in the book. It's all about how to grow to the next level. Through that, I believe that the cost of avoiding ownership or not investing my time, not having them invest their time, it's easy then to say when that person isn't successful, oh, well, I wasn't really that invested, or I wasn't really that engaged, or he wasn't that engaged. And we start do blame shifting. But the impact to that individual is huge, in that we have an opportunity to really grow people into being the best human beings they can be, and also being able to leverage relationships to take those relationships to the next level that open the doors to the future of bigger and better things that you could ever imagine. The next nugget that I wanted to share with you during this closeout was ownership and leadership. When we start talking about leaders owning the fact that they must be accountable for making the decisions and also the outcomes. A lot of times when we talk about responsibility and empowering teams, we have to look at it. How can I best contribute? And maybe I'm not the superstar, but maybe I enable the superstar to be the superstar. In my book, I talk about how Michael Jordan was that type of star, but players like Steve Kerr were the stronger through their assistance and their rebounds of helping him or coming in and being the sixth man off the bench and hitting that 3-point shot when it was critical. See, it's not always about scoring the points as leaders. It's about making sure everyone on the team succeeds. So when you're building team and building relationships within teams, it's getting to know the person sitting next to you in the cube across the way or right over the wall. It's then understanding how can we better partner together to achieve our goals, and then what is the amount of my responsibility that I'm willing to invest into this relationship, into this team. Steve Kerr went on to parlay that type of attitude into being one of the most successful coaches in the NBA. And we all know about the Golden State Warriors and what he has done there. Just an incredible person that's constantly pouring in and promoting and creating synergy, and even seeing how to promote the stars, even when he's just the coach, to make sure that the team wins. Again, ownership and leadership is another key nugget that I just wanted to make sure shared with you. And please feel free to go out and grab your copy of the book. And don't forget to go out and subscribe and follow me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and now on iHeart, wherever you listen, or just catch me live and in person or record it on the YouTube channel at Off the Record, the Real Talk Podcast on YouTube. We're going to be there all the time. Moving on to item number 4, I want to talk to you about ownership is a collaboration. You kind of can see that in some of the nuggets I've dropped already. When you look at it, ownership multiplies value when we embrace collaboration. When you can bring others to the table and look at it and make things stronger because you brought others to the table, because you built a relationship. Most recently, one of my frat brothers called me, and as a fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma is very important to me. So when the phone rings, I answer. This young fraternity brother, I say young in terms of membership, was just reaching out to say, hey, can you help me connect someone that I'm going into business with the right product for our insurance needs? Now, let's break that down for a minute. I had a relationship with Ray Worthen. And by the way, one of the most incredible CEOs of Infinite Zion Farms. They're doing all kinds of things. He's one of the only people that's Black that has the ability to farm and create some incredible products in agriculture that I'm not going to do him a disservice and try to tell you. But if you're looking for hemp, you need to look at Infinite Zion Farms. If you're looking for ways to grow and increase your agricultural products, this guy is, you sit down, he's a walking, talking encyclopedia. Getting back to my story, though, he reached out, and because we have a relationship that has been cultivated over 10 years, we're able to share openly and honestly. And he knows when he calls, I'm going to give him the gift of my time, my talent, and my treasure. And what he was calling for was to ask for a opportunity to do a introduction, a relationship catalyst to someone that I might be able to help through some of the experiences that I've had in different industries. Long story short, Ray making the sponsorship of opening the door for this other individual, we were able to help them find exactly what they needed for their new business partnership. And what did it cost me? Maybe 20 minutes on a phone call. Plus the value and the return on investment. These gentlemen had just signed a multi-million-dollar contract with a local entity to provide services where there are not many people who look like them providing those types of services. So proud of them. Ray and Rob, wish you great success with your new endeavor. Maybe we'll have you on the show so you can share about it. We can talk off the record about what you're doing, where you're going, and what you're advancing to. Again, rounding out that number 4, collaboration. In the same way that leaders engage, invest, and partner together effectively, a collective ownership can transform good intentions into an invaluable impact. I'm here to tell you. Number 5, results-oriented community engagement. Folks, this is a term that I've trademarked and really proud of it, because for me, when we talk about results-oriented community engagement, it was things like during my time as the Urban League leader at the Central Florida Urban League in Orlando, Florida, had an opportunity to partner with Kaboom, which was a project where kids got to come in and give their feedback along with other community members to say what type of playground they wanted. We had the Urban League Park, which was long uncared for and had kind of gone to waste. We had the opportunity to reclaim it, but it took a partnership and an organization that was willing to engage not only with their dollars, but also with their sweat equity. The vivid example that I'm sharing is when SAP partnered with us to build a playground in Orlando's Pine Hills community, a community at the time that was being misnamed and miscalled, and I won't even repeat it, but a thriving community nonetheless that had children with hopes, dreams, and aspirations. During one weekend day, one Saturday, volunteers, community members, and leaders from across our governmental offices to senior executives at this company who were in town for their annual convention pitched in side by side for 7 hours to create a safe space for children. You know, and when kids took the stage that evening, because they designed a little stage, they had swings, they had everything that you could want as a child in a playground that was built by people who didn't know them but cared for them. You know, because if you stand by and stay tuned, you'll hear about a new book coming out called Care, putting a little humanity back into being human. SAP's leadership showed that they had the compassion and the appreciation, the respect for this community, and the empathy and the feeling for these children to have what other children have taken for granted. A playground where they could go and dream and play and be safe. They embodied what I believe is putting a little humanity back into being human or caring about each other. When the kids took the stage that evening after we had finished and were putting away the tools and we're doing a little impromptu fashion show, every participant that was still there felt a sense of ownership in the joy and the possibility created that day. And what I call results-oriented community engagement is doing the assessment to understand what's the most powerful impact I can do with my time, my talent, and treasure as an organization, as an individual that gives a result. And I do it with an expected return on investment. I encourage you to explore opportunities to have ownership in the communities that we serve and to be able to give back through that way and continuing, again, the practice of building key relationships and then looking at it as a way of how do I make it happen. Last nugget I want to drop on you is what I call the practical application. And folks, that's really rolling up the sleeves, getting involved and saying, let me identify one area where I know in my career, in my community engagement, in my relationships, where I could do some investment of time, some involvement, and be able to see a return on investment with that relationship. Practical app is picking up the phone and calling that person that you haven't spoken to in a while that meant so much to you years ago. You never know what that relationship catalyst will trigger in terms of future partnerships, opportunities for sponsorship, and then managing that relationship well. Commit the time, talent, and treasure in alignment with your values. So many times in this world, we get misaligned chasing the profit. I want you to chase the good, and as John Robert Lewis would say, get in some good trouble, some necessary trouble. The last thing I would say under practical application is that enlist accountability partners, mentors, to ensure that you follow through and that they help guide you along your path to success. Oftentimes, people call me when they're making some of the most key decisions in their life and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And folks, this is why my wife says I'm probably everybody's favorite uncle, because I'll take the time to say, let me listen to you. And then I'll give valuable feedback. It may be a course correction, but it'll be a course correction with a potential increase in what they're trying to do. Or it may be just letting somebody sound out the pros versus the cons, and then helping them to make their own decision, kind of coaching them through the process. The key thing for me is giving back allows me to continue to move forward in terms of building powerful relationships that have helped me get places, and I never know where they're going to end up. Last story I want to tell is about a young lady that's in her doctorate program at FAMU. Won't mention her name, but if you listen to this, you will know who I'm talking about. I met her as a freshman in high school, full of energy, full of potential, and knowing what she wanted to do. And I'm so glad to say that here within the next year, the spring of 2026, we'll have a doctor in engineering in our midst. A young lady from a community that people said, don't worry about it. Everybody needs cooks, bottle washers, this, that, and the other, but she wanted more. And she put herself through that to get to more. And, she's a graduate of the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University in Tallahassee, FAMU. And just so that you know, I'm always still watching. If you hear this podcast, so proud of you. But folks, just an investment of time in her as a freshman has been a relationship that now she's on her way to finishing her doctorate. And we're still in touch, and we're still engaged, and I'm still encouraging, I'm still paying it forward. Relationships, when they're mutually beneficial, are just incredible. So what's the return on investment for me? To see another young Black woman attaining a doctorate and being able to pursue and achieve her dreams is the ample return on investment for me. It's the return on the time, the encouragement, the seeing the person through the ups and downs, the challenges, and sometimes the insecurity of, can I do it? To be able to see that person walk across the stage and get her doctorate degree in the spring of 2026 is going to be a dream come true for both of us. I wanted to share that because you never know who's listening, who needs that extra step of encouragement. If you're in Gen Z, if you're newly graduated from college, the world is your oyster. Go out and decide what you want to do with it. Cultivate it, grow it, pour into it, build relationships that will give you a return on investment for many years to come. Most recently in my 63rd chapter here, I got a chance to write about some things that I believe that just because you're 60, you're not done. So for us who are up there at the age 60, hey, we still got a third of a life to live. We still got 30 some more years to keep going based upon our health and how we take care of ourselves. I would say go out and write the next chapter, no matter what age you're in, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. And then come on here, come and visit me. Visit us at Facebook, Off the Record, the Real Talk Podcast. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe, like, share, comment, or send me an email at otrwithallie@gmail.com. Love to hear from you, but always know if it's 6 o'clock on a Wednesday, it's time for Off the Record with Allie Braswell. I'm your host. I look forward to seeing you next week when we'll start a new series. Take care. God bless.